Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare
ISKCON Founder-Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prem se ko Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna ko Gopinath Shaimakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sri Navadipa Dham ki jai. Gangamai ki jai. Samunamai ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Shamaveda Bhaktivedanta ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Shamani Tanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nivasesha Sunyavadi Pachkati Devasatarane Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Gyanadaminandasya Jalajana Salakaya Chaksusamilitan Jaina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manabhistam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Sayam Rupakatamayam Dadati Sa Pandantikam Vanchakopa Turubhyascha Kripasindhuvaibhaja Patitaram Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. We had desired to, during our visit here, to describe the prayers, say something about the prayers that Lord Brahma offered. And we got up to a certain point in the 3 classes that were allotted to us, and we could not finish. So I concluded that we try our best to finish them today. But each of Brahma's prayers isn't something to be finished. It's something to be deeply looked at and relished. But in any case, despite my own inability to do either of those things, look deeply into them or relish them, we have the assistance of the BBT purports, and we have the assistance of some of the commentaries of our acharyas on this. So we were actually up to the 34th verse of the 14th chapter of the 10th canto. But here we'll just go through the section a little bit, just to bring us up to date so we have our little chart over here. The first verse in this section was such an important one. Janati Tattvam Bhagavan Mahimno, that one can only understand, or get a glimpse of the glories, Bhagavan Mahimno, the glories of Krishna, by prasara lesha anugrahati evihi, by getting even a little bit of Krishna's mercy. And it is only mercy that allows us to understand something about Krishna's glories. And Brahma, who is the topmost of intelligent persons, this is what he's concluded. This is actually his conclusion, that despite his great intelligence and the potency of his intelligence, when he has seen, Arjun, just put it down a little. He's gotten a glimpse of Krishna's power. And in the previous chapter, in chapter 13, it is described that he saw when he had stolen the calves and the cowherd boys away, and when he had come back, he saw that they were still there. And then by the influence of Krishna's yogamaya, his internal energy, he saw that these were not the boys and calves that he had stolen, nor were they actually the original boys and calves, but rather they were expansions of Krishna. And each of those boys and calves, right before his eyes, became four-armed Vishnu forms who were receiving worship from all the residents of the universe. And all the energies that control us, like karma and time, the time factor, and swabhava, our own natures, these energies were worshipping these Vishnu forms. So the energies that control us were worshipping the Lord. They saw their position as in the Lord's service only. And there were countless, we could say unlimited, because in the beginning of the 12th chapter it describes the number of calves that went out with Krishna as asankhya, which means uncountable. So there were uncountable calves and boys who turned into uncountable number of Vishnu forms, and try to consider this, each of the countless forms, Vishnu forms, each had unlimited power. So countless unlimitedly powerful forms had come from this little cowherd boy, and he wasn't even tired. And his energy hadn't been diminished in the slightest bit. So when we try to contemplate the potency, the power of the Supreme Lord, all we can do is become humble and try to understand it, not by our own power, but by mercy. So that was his conclusion. Even if one, Tsiram means for a very long time, if he meditates for a very long time, he'll be unable to understand, to get a glimpse of how powerful the Lord is. As Brahma found out, that he got a glimpse, his glimpse, by Krishna's arrangement, and it completely bewildered him. So here's the translation of that verse, but if we go into the translations of every verse, we're not going to get to the verse that we are up to even. So therefore here he says that all I want now, either in this life or in another life, wherever I take my birth, I just want to be counted as one of your devotees. So I can offer my service. And even regardless of what species of life I may take my birth in due to my karma, due to the reactions to the deeds that I have performed in this life or in previous lives, I just want to be able to serve your lotus feet. Let me not forget you. This was the mood that Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur also sang of about himself. Even if regardless of where I take my birth, let me serve you. Let me engage in devotional service to your lotus feet, to you, the person. And amazingly enough, we should keep in mind that the unlimited person he was speaking to was the size of a 4-year-old, and he was holding a flute. Actually, his flute wasn't in his hand, but it was tucked in between his belt. And do you know what color? When Christians are a little older, we can always look at one of the wonderful pictures here. If the color of Krishna, the belt that he has is a reddish color. And his dhoti is taditambaraya. It is like lightning, effulgent like lightning. And there he is with paripitcha and lasat and guna avatanksi. He's wearing earrings and he's just a little boy, and yet unlimited's come from him. So Brahma is just, he's gotten a glimpse, and he's saying, all I want to be, all I can aspire for is to be your devotee, your servant, the servant of your servant, that type of a mood. So then he continues and says something that has very clever meanings, but we won't discuss them again. But and then because he understands something about who Krishna is, he glimpses also the relationship between the devotees in Vrindavan, which he has specifically seen, the cowherd boys, he re-examines them, the relationship between the cowherd boys and Krishna. Because before, he looked at the way that they were dealing with Krishna in such a casual way, just like as we deal with the people that we see every day and have friendly relationships with, who are on an equal to us, and friendly with. So very, very casual, joking, pushing, this, that, and this. And so he had previously doubted that Krishna was actually the all-powerful Supreme Lord after seeing the casual ways that Jagyabhuk, he who is enjoying the fruit of all sacrifices, he who everyone in existence is trying to... Who's not available? He's not available. Oh no. Oh, Siri's not available. Who cares? I thought Krishna wasn't available. Then we would all started crying. Huh? Why? About what? It just fits so smoothly into what we were talking about. Go to sleep, Siri. And don't wake up for another hour. So Brahma had doubted Krishna's position because he saw this casual position, and he who was Jagyabhuk, who was tasting the fruits of all, or that which is offered to him in the most very ordered and clean fashion. The boys are putting food in his mouth and he's eating it, and they're teasing and joking with each other, laughing, crying, they're pushing, they're doing all these things. So how is it possible that he is my master, the Supreme Lord? So that which caused him to doubt, now he's saying that not only can't I understand you and your dealings and your potency, but I also can't understand, because when I understand how powerful you are, then I have to reconsider and reevaluate who these cowherd boys are and who the calves are. So therefore, he concludes that in this very casual dealings between the Lord and the cowherd boys, the Brijbasis, and the calves and etc. There is so much depth. And Srila Sukadeva Goswami says this also: Itam satam brahma sukhana bhutya tasyam gatanam paradaivatrena maya sritanam narapangavena sakyam vicharu. These cowherd boys, these suckers of yours, they must have performed unlimited austerities, not austerities, but krita punja, unlimited pious, spiritually pious activities. They must have endeavored for so many lifetimes to be able to have attained this intimacy in relationship with you. Because what is the cause of allowing someone to have an intimate relationship with us? That we have to trust them completely. And what is the cause of trusting someone completely? Is that we have to know that they have our best interests in mind, and they're not going to be seduced away from caring for us because they love us, and therefore we trust them, and therefore we allow them intimacy. So the cowherd boys ultimately had so much bhakti for the Lord that he allowed this intimacy, and Srila Sukadeva Goswami says, Krita punja punja janma koti sukrita, so many births of performing bhakti, so many births of becoming humbled So many births of chanting, so many births of calling out to Krishna that I cannot live without you. So many births of proving that Krishna, I love you and love you alone, and developing that depth of relationship with Krishna. So he's saying, he's calculating that these boys are extraordinary. They must be, even though I saw the dealings and thought them ordinary, but your battery is running low. Siri, fix my battery. Not even Siri can do that. That brings up another point that 2 points we could say. That we become dependent on things that ultimately will let us down in life. We tend to reach for those things out of habit that help us in the superficial dealings when the network's not down, but ultimately in the ultimate things that really are important in life, they cannot help us at all, and rather we have to plug in to the source, which is Krishna, because the source has so much power. And Krishna, Brahma's understanding, has unlimited power. So he can't estimate what's going on in this relationship, and the Vedic sacrifices that others have performed, them pure persons have performed to please Krishna, don't give him as much satisfaction as these very, very intimate and confidential. Why these dealings are so confidential? What does confidential mean? What word is used in the Bhagavad Gita for confidential? Guhyam and rahasya. Very, very secret. But Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami, he says, these things, I will speak about them openly, knowing that they shouldn't be spoken about actually, because people who are unqualified will misunderstand them. But I speak about them openly because they are hidden behind the veil of the common dealings that we see in this world. So when we look at the dealings between Krishna and his friends, his servants, his parents, and especially the Braja Gopis, because we have material impressions, they cover our ability to penetrate into this most mysterious land of Vrindavan. Most mysterious land, and it's not mysterious and confidential and guhyam and rahasya because it's not there for us. It's mysterious and because of the coverings and the gifts of false ego to us, which come to us as if they were wonderful things, but actually they cover our consciousness and disallow us from entering into the most sweet and mysterious realm of Sri Vrindavan Dham. But by the mercy of Chaitanya and Nitai, it's been made so simple, not easy, but simple. And the easiness or the simplicity is that we just chant Krishna's name sincerely and without offense. We chant Krishna's names and we dance ecstatically but deeply, and study Srimad Bhagavatam, and we worship the deities, and we live and associate with the holy places, and we above all associate with devotees. By the mercy of Mahaprabhu and his followers, and by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, who has set up an institution that is to facilitate these 5 things basically, and all the activities which are centered around the association of devotees, and all the activities are meant to bring the devotees together, to associate and associate in a spiritual way, in a deep way, in a way that gives nourishment to our souls. So and to distribute these things. So Brahma continues by saying, how fortunate are, how fortunate, how fortunate. Twice he's enthusiastically mentioning it, that are the residents of Vrindavan headed by Nanda Gopa. Because the supreme Purna Brahman, the eternal Purna Brahma, the supreme absolute truth, who is complete. This is the Param Satyam. The whole Bhagavatam is to bring us to meditate Param Satyam Dhimahi, to meditate upon the absolute truth, that which is all-inclusive. There's nothing outside of or external to the absolute truth, Krishna. There's nothing outside of him in existence or non-existence. So these persons are so fortunate that they have that Yan Mitram, that they have become his friend eternally, his eternal friend. So what greater fortune can there be than that? And then Brahma says that we're also fortunate, and because meaning the demigods are so fortunate, himself included, because whatever they do, the demigods indirectly experience. So we are tasting what they are tasting indirectly. And also in the commentaries on these verses, our acharyas have explained that we are included in that, each and every one of us, that we have the opportunity, when Krishna performs his pastimes, we can also taste them. We're not qualified to be participating in them directly. Why? I mean, I shouldn't say we, because there are many great advanced souls here. But what stops us from participating directly in Krishna's pastimes? You can think about that on a personal and individual level. And we can lament. This is what the process of lamenting is meant for. Lamentation which is born out of ignorance, when it is used to push us forward in spiritual life, is spiritualized. And this actually comes up very soon in these verses, if we will ever get to them. In the later verses, that we lament, look at this. Look, the things that I hold on to that are not capable of giving me true pleasure, but they're capable, and they are actually stopping me from being with Krishna on one level. On the other level, because that level of prayer and lamentation is to remove impurity from the heart, but it takes more than purity even to be with Krishna. Tatra loyam apimula mekalam. It takes such a desire, the desire to be with Krishna. To be with Krishna means to serve Krishna. The desire to serve him has to be blazingly hot. And one has to be pure, free from materialism. Materialism means selfishness, basically. Because materialism doesn't mean dealing with matter, because matter is Krishna's energy. And Krishna's energy must be used in Krishna's service, because it's not different from him. It's his energy. This is the meaning of him being the absolute truth. So materialism means focusing only on matter for my pleasure. But the vision of a great devotee is different. We saw that with Srila Prabhupada. He saw everything. He wanted. One time, there was one person at 26 Second Avenue was a what's the right word? Eccentric is one of the words that would describe it. But he was a musician. But he would come to 26 Second Avenue, and during the kirtans, he would bring the inside of a piano and bang on it. Eccentric, or you could say,
crazy.
Huh?
Crazy.
Perhaps. But he would do it in tune to the kirtan. So at least he might have been crazy, but he was a good musician. But so he was having a concert, holding a concert in, of all places, Carnegie Hall, which you probably never heard of, but it is one of the most prestigious music halls in New York City. So he invited the Swami to come, and the Swami went. But during halftime, during the intermission, he thanked him and exited. And then devotees were asked him why did he agree to go to such a thing. And Prabhupada replied, I was going to see if Carnegie Hall was suitable for a temple. He saw everything. Is this going? How can this be used in Krishna service? How can this be used in Krishna service? How could you? So, not materialistic, but dealing with the material energy in such a powerful way. So Brahma is saying that I can indirectly, myself and the other demigods, devatas, are so fortunate because we can indirectly participate in Krishna's pastimes. We're not qualified to directly participate, but indirectly we can experience them. And similarly, our acharyas say, we can also indirectly experience them, and in spiritual life, indirectly and directly are very closely connected by Krishna performing the pastimes and we ourselves hearing about them. And we can get a taste of what the spiritual world is actually like, and by getting a taste of what the spiritual world is like, the roots that we have firmly planted in the material world, they can be uprooted. That's Vidyantisto Bhadrani Vidanoti Saritsatam from the first canto of the Bhagavatam. That Krishna himself will help us uproot if we become eager to hear about him. So Brahma's prayers continue. And this is the verse that we were going to begin on today. It's a verse that is quite wonderful. Tad puri bhagyam iya janma kimapi atavyam. Tad puri bhagyam iya janma kimapi atavyam. Yad gokale api. Whoops. This isn't the verse. That I know, but it just happens to be the wrong verse. That's all. Yes. So anyway, so Brahma says that I have a feeling that it might not be numbered properly on there. That was element. No, it's the next verse. It's the next verse, but this verse is also wonderful. He's saying instead of I'm trying to see if it has a reverse gear. Yeah. My greatest good fortune is that Janma Kim Atavyam, that I will take my birth somewhere in this Vrindavan forest. So this is Lord Brahma, the topmost elevated person, devotee in the universe, not in a city or a country or a planet, but the universe. So let me take my birth anywhere in Vrindavan and Katangri Rajobhishekam, be bathed by the dust of the lotus feet from the residents of Vrindavan. Because Bhagavan Mukunda, they don't know anything. Oops. Because their entire life and soul has been given to him. So he's concluded that the perfection of all Vedic knowledge, of spiritual life, of all paths, of a soul's existence, this is his conclusion, that the perfection of existence is to give one's life and soul to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what's the difference between the life and the soul? But we could say that the soul is who we are, and the life, how is life usually translated? How do you use life energy? Prana. So our self and all our life's energy given to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mukunda. So he's concluded this is perfection, and whose lotus feet, the dust of it, the service of him, is being searched for by the Vedic mantras. This is the perfection of spiritual existence. It's the perfection of existence. This is the end of the path, and there's nothing more than this. And then, because one may say, well, if I give my life and my soul to the Supreme Personality of Mukunda, who's going to take care of me? And of course, Mukunda, there's many meanings of the word Mukunda, but one of them is that he is the giver of liberation. So don't worry, he's going to free you from material life. He's going to give you vimukti, not only mukti. He's going to give you the best of liberations, which is service to him in the spiritual world. So now, that particular verse that we were up to. Esham gosha navasinam utabhavam kimdeva ratitinas. Can't try that one. Cheto vishva phalat phalam tvara param kutrapiyan muyati. Cheto vishva phalat phalam Saveshadiva putranapi sakulatameva devapita. Yadharma arta sarat priyatama tanaya panayas tatvite. Has anyone memorized it yet? So this verse means that, so Brahma, who knows everything, is actually bewildered. Kutrapi api muyati. He's feeling great bewilderment. And what is this bewilderment? That these Gosha Nivasanam, these residents of Vrindavan, all of them he's speaking of, he's glorified them. But they've given everything to Krishna in such an intimate way that it's actually speaking inconceivable to us. It is actually inconceivable to us, because here we are prisoners in the material world, and we've been prisoners in the material world for so long It's practically speaking impossible for us to conceive of what freedom is. Confirmed by a cough of an innocent child. We can't conceive of what freedom is. We can't conceive of, we're just dealing with the reflection of reality in this world. And thinking that reflection, that's all we know. So we think of love in this world, and we take that experience or concept of love in this world and we project it into the spiritual world, thinking it must be something like this. And actually it's nothing like this. So these residents of Vrindavan are such a fine, subtle, loving, pure consciousness that's completely saturated, naturally so, with nothing other than their loving relationship with Krishna. Prema bhakti, prema pamarto maha. There's nothing, this is, the form they're in is a manifestation of their love for Krishna, because it's a manifestation of their desire, their soul's natural their spontaneous natural desire to serve Krishna. It is a manifestation of that. This is who they are. And they've given everything to Krishna. So Brahma says these persons, these Goshen of Ashram, the people who are living in the forests of Vrindavan, that I don't know, just 1 second, sorry. I'm wondering how you're going to reciprocate with them. The concept of God in most religions, if there is a concept, is that he's sitting on a throne, somewhat faceless, and he's demanding that everyone give everything to him or else. I could say my favorite cartoon in a newspaper type of cartoon that shows that God in front of a computer screen. It's an old one. Otherwise he'd now be with his iPhone Infinite instead of just 7. He wouldn't be limited to 6 or something. But he's in front of the computer screen, and on the screen there is some poor fellow just walking down the road in front of buildings. And right above his head that he's not aware of, there's a piano. And on the piano, attached to the piano, there's a rope. And the piano is suspended, it's from the top of the building. You don't see the top of the building, but you see the rope coming down and the piano over there, and the poor fellow who's not looking upward is walking below, and God's got his finger on, he's ready to push, he's waiting for him to be right below it, so he presses the enter key. So we have a different concept. Ye tamam prapadyante. That he's a person. He reciprocates in the relationship. Not in that way. He presses the enter key so the piano falls on your head just at the right time. But he reciprocates. Perhaps we can open the door, because otherwise there'll be 100 people fast asleep in here soon. 101. Only they'll be awake. So he's reciprocating. And he's always reciprocating. He's reciprocating with our indifference to him by not being present before us, before our consciousness. And the process of sadhana bhakti is the process of not getting him to turn to us, but us turning to him. It's a process of turning. That's what sadhana bhakti is actually meant for. Srila Jiva Goswami explains in Bhakti Sundara that it's the process of turning to him, to awaken or reawaken our relationship with him. Because now Krishna Bhule Se Jiva Nadi Bahimukha, our back is turned to him. So we want to turn towards him again. He's reciprocating with us. He stays within our heart. He gives us the air that we feel is cut off when the door is closed. He gives us, he's making the heartbeat. We're not making our heartbeat. Just imagine if you're absorbed in watching some very elevating movie, and if your heart beating, if it was you who had to make sure your heart was beating, or you'd take a breath, and and you were doing something, you got absorbed in it, and then you forgot for a few minutes or something like that. So Krishna is already reciprocating with us. But we are not reciprocating with him. That's the point. So, ye tamam prapadyante, that Krishna reciprocates according to our dealing with him, which is natural for a person. Brahma is wondering that these residents of Vrindavan, they're so devoted to you. You are their life. You are their soul. Then cheto vishvaphalam taraparam kutrapi ayan. We are bewildered how you're going to reciprocate with them, because you are the personification of benedictions. That's vishvaphalat. You are the you are the person who is benedicting everyone. How are you going to reciprocate with them? It's bewildering me, because sadvesha eva putana came to you in the filled with envy, sadvesha, but also in the vesha, the dress of a devotee, but filled with envy. But because she had the slightest bit of bhakti, not even bhakti, but she was dressed as a devotee, even though her heart was filled with envy and was trying to kill you, you reciprocated with her by giving yourself to her. You sucked her breast, and not only that, but sakulam, her family members. You liberated them in the past and the present. Baka, Aga, and you gave yourself whole Bakayamstana Kalakutam Jikamsi Adyad Vapi Svavi Lebhe. Gatim, she received the Gatim, the goal of Datri, a nurse in the spiritual world who could forever be feeding you like that. So you found in her the slightest bit of good you've made into, that she came to in the dress of a nurse trying to give you something, even though her internal state was exactly the opposite. You took that and gave yourself to her. Now, how in the world, or out of this world, are you going to reciprocate with the residents of Vrindavan? If this is your nature, to give yourself to Putra, yet dharma arta, surit, priyatama, tanayo, pranasayas, tvatkrite. Tvatkrite means that they've made you their treasure, the residents of Vrindavan. contrasting them to Putana. That you are their religion, you are their dharma, you are their otter, you are their gain, you are their friend, you are their priyatama, the dearest, you are their child, you are their life, their prana. You are the treasure of their existence. And you've already you've shown your tendencies and your nature by giving yourself to Putana. I'm bewildered to think how you're going to reciprocate with them. And this is shown in at the end, in the rasa dance sections where Krishna says that I can't reciprocate with you because you, my dear gopis, because you've given everything to me in such a way. I can't reciprocate with you, but rather I remain naparyeham, I remain indebted to you forever. I am forever in your debt. The Supreme Lord, the all-powerful Supreme Lord, has been conquered by the devotion of the Brishbasis. So how? So Brahma is bewildered by this. And therefore, let me just read you. So they control Krishna. They control him by their love. So this, where are we going to find this type of spiritual life? This type of spiritual goal, this ideal, and this type of purity. So therefore, how long have you been a devotee, Prabhu? Well, it's a long story about this this road that they're on, and after reading these things and reading and understanding what devotion is and what Prabhupada was giving us and what his example was in giving and what C.C. Gaunitai and all the great devotees, the level of their consciousness, the level of their consciousness and what Mahaprabhu was giving, the most secret and the most confidential and the deepest of deep things. And what is that? That is service to Radha Ballabha. But real service, what is the standard? It is very, very, very high. So Brahma is just praying. In fact, even if I'm a dog or an insect in my next life, just let me be on this path. I cannot aspire, even it comes out later, he says, I cannot aspire, pray to be, let me become a resident of Vrindavan and serve you in this way. No. He's been caught by humility. So he can't even pray on that level. Even if I'm not a human, at least let me be engaged in your service. So let me be a blade of grass in Vrindavan, so the residents of Vrindavan, maybe they'll step on me. This would be my greatest fortune, that kind of thing. So these prayers are they're very, how to say, instructive, how we should prosecute our own Krishna consciousness. So then, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, my mind has become bewildered taking the mood of Brahma. What kind of reward you would give them from anywhere at any time, as you are the final reward yourself? But if there's something other than you, something other than yourself that you have worthy of giving, you should give it to them. But there is nothing else you could give them, since you've already given yourself. So how are you going to reciprocate with them? Therefore my mind is bewildered. And then Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he speaks on behalf of how Krishna replied to this. Oh Brahma, you're really ignorant of the truth. Knowing that they would manifest such astonishing, spontaneous devotion, I have in advance given them to myself as their son. I knew they would do this in the future. I know everything. So I don't have to reciprocate with them because I preempted their devotion, and I've already given myself to them as their son. So I am knowledgeable about what to do in the future. In this way, I have defeated you. And Brahma replies, "Oh Krishna, if you speak like this is how I answer you." And this is talking about the construction of this verse. "You are certainly doing what is proper. But though Putana was so sinful, just by imitating a devotee, she and all her family attained you personally. But the inhabitants of Vrindavan, who gave up all attachment, such as house, wealth, friends, objects, body, and mind, just for you, out of affection, they also attained you." If what you said was true, that knowing in advance, I've given myself to them. "The same body that you have given to low sinful Putana, you also gave to the most exalted jewel-like inhabitants of Braja. This is, in essence, highly improper. Acceptance of your indebtedness to them is your atonement." What do we say? That you are eternally indebted to the residents of Vrindavan, and therefore Krishna padam ekam nagacchati. He can never leave Vrindavan. So we should, there's more verses, but 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40. Let's read one more, 38. He says, Brahma says, let's move to 38 so we can all say the Sanskrit too. That one's really a nice one too. Yeah. Janata eva janatu kim bahukta name priyo manaso vapaso vacho vaibhavam tava gochara. Janata eva janatu means that let those who think they understand your pastimes, let them think in that way if they so want to. Kim bhayukta name Prabhu. But what are the use for me to speak words describing you and your pastimes? When manaso vapaso vachu vaibhavam tava gochara, that your opulences, your vaibhava, your potencies are they're completely beyond my mind, my body, and my words. I can't understand you and how you deal. And I can't understand the residents in Vrindavan. And I can't understand your transcendental pastimes. They're just so beyond the realm of matter. But yet, they're very sweet. And and he said earlier, we can get some glimpses of them by reading, studying the Bhagavatam, not just jumping into the deepest part, because Brahma's mood was very, very humble. Let me learn how to be a devotee. Let me read the Bhagavatam, not only read it, but study it and try to apply it to my life. From Canto 1, start with the Bhagavad Gita. Read, study, learn, apply it to life, become humble, serve, hear and chant, serve. Pray to Sisi Gonatai, pray to Sisi Radhabala, Sisi Jagannath Baladev Subhajali, to Srila Prabhupada, to the Vaishnavas, and then get some hope to become a servant in this line. And then just just the last line in the last verse of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comments on the last text. There's so much very, very sweet. But at some point he says, Brahma says, in one of the next verses, he says, because Krishna during this whole time didn't respond to him, didn't even look at him. All his requests, Krishna didn't even glance at him. And then Brahma says, finally, he says, in the next to last verse says, can I go? It's clear that I'm not quite qualified. I mean, after all, what's a four-headed person doing in Braja? You know, when I'm just getting in the way of your pastimes here, and you're not even looking at me, and you're not even responding to me, just standing there with the food still in your left hand, like that, and just, may I leave now, please? And then the last verse. I'll read just the translation of the last verse. He just offers a prayer. This one, my dear Sri Krishna, you bestow happiness upon the lotus-like Vrishni dynasty and expand the great oceans consisting of the earth, the demigods, the Brahmins, and the cows. You dispel the dense darkness of irreligion and oppose the demons who have appeared on this earth, all Supreme Personality of Godhead. As long as this universe exists and as long as the sun shines, I will offer my obeisances to you. So then he leaves. And then, just in the final comment that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has in this verse, he says, may these prayers of Lord Brahma, which are capable of destroying all the influence of the material world, which are the ocean of all conclusions about devotion, may they remain impressed upon my heart. So very nice. Okay. Any questions? We can have just a few minutes of questions, perhaps. Yes. Yes, Prabhu.
Lord Brahma composed these beautiful prayers for the satisfaction of the Lord, but there is no reciprocation coming from the Lord. But then we're expected to also repeat these prayers or have the same mood as Lord Brahma. I mean, how we can, is there going to be reciprocation there? Is the Lord impressed by the, obviously he wasn't impressed by those prayers? I mean,
he has so the question, as I understand it, is if Krishna didn't reciprocate with Brahma, and yet we're supposed to understand and deeply enter into the mood of Brahma's prayers, if the one whose the prayers came from didn't get Krishna's reciprocation, then why should we be encouraged to go in the same mood? And yes? Okay. So there's two parts of every relationship. One is my part, and one is the other person's part, who I'm in that relationship with. So we should think of prayers, these prayers or any dealings with Krishna as our part of the relationship. Our part of the relationship is to serve. Our part of the relationship with Krishna is to offer things. Our part of the relationship with Krishna is to offer prayers. Our part of the relationship is to chant his name. Following me so far? Okay. And then there's Krishna's part of the relationship. So in all relationships, the major problem, or in most relationships, a major problem can be that the two people in the relationship, I'm thinking about what the other person should be doing, and the other person is thinking about what I should be doing. And the proper mood in every relationship is that I should be thinking about what I'm doing, and the other person should be doing their duty and thinking about what they should be doing. So if we take that principle and Because everyone's minding the other person's business, and no one's minding their own business. And you know, if you've ever had a business, if you're not minding your own business, it's not going to work, because no one else is going to mind your business. So in our relationship with Krishna, if we take this principle that what's my part in the relationship? I should pray. Where have you been, Gopal? Did you just arrive now?
Yeah.
Oh, how nice that you came. But I missed you, despite that. So our part is praying sincerely for service and understanding, as Brahma did, getting a glimpse from a distance, perhaps, of the depth of what Vrindavan actually is, of the purity that's there, and what it actually is, and praying and etc. And that's our business. I mean, that's not our only business. We have so many other businesses, but that's our part of the relationship. And then, as far as Krishna's part of the relationship, we leave that to him. That's one way of understanding of how I would answer that question. And that means that we have to trust that Krishna, in fact, is taking care of us and will take care of us. But the general problem in the relationship is not his part. It's me doing my part properly. That's one way of answering that question. Another answer is that Krishna did reciprocate with Lord Brahma, and because we've heard this from Prabhupada, directly from Prabhupada's mouth, that silence means that you accept the premise. So that's another way of looking at it. And another way of looking at it is that Krishna reciprocated in such a way that when Indra committed his mistake, the Brahma learned that you better go to him. He told Indra, you should go to him and apologize immediately, because it's so heavy when you're humbly praying to someone or humbly talking to someone and they ignore you. So there is gravity in that through Krishna's reciprocation, by seeming non-reciprocation, Brahma learned that I had made a mistake. And what was his mistake? And that mistake was that he separated Krishna in the middle of his pastimes. Of course, this is a pastime, but he separated Krishna from his beloved devotees, which turned out to be, as it is said in Vrindavan, a greater mistake than what Indra did. When Indra, for Brahma was being a little playful in one sense, but Indra, he was so upset. His pride had been challenged so much that he tried to kill all the residents of Vrindavan. And yet, when he offered his prayers, Krishna reciprocated with him. So the reason is often given because the result of what Brahma did was separating Krishna and his devotees, and the result of what Indra did was that all the devotees were gathered under Govardhan Hill, just looking at Krishna and the opportunity to be with Krishna for that whole time. So Krishna answered Indra, but he didn't answer Brahma. So there's many ways to look at these things. Is that okay? It's very mysterious. And why Krishna reciprocates with someone with one person the way he does with that person, he reciprocates with someone else in a different way. He is, in the words that Srila Prabhupada quoted from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he is the transcendental autocrat. That means that he does just what he wants to do. And that's life. He's going to do just what he wants to do. But also in his comment on Tateno Kampam is another way to answer it. Tateno Kampam Sumikshmano. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, which is one of Brahma's prayers, he comments that Brahma's mood is, I don't know what's best for me. You give me whatever medicine you want, just like the father knows what's best for the, quoting Prithu Maharaj, the father knows what's best for the child. This was a long time ago. Children thought like that. And not, you still think like that, certainly. But as the father knows what's best for the child, sometimes he gives him sweets, and sometimes he has him fast. Sometimes he compliments him and says sweet things, and sometimes he chastises him. As the father knows what's best for the child, you know what's best for me, so I accept how you relate to me and what you've given to me in that mood. So it's another way to... So faith, a lot of shraddha is required. Okay, one last question. There was a... Sorry, you all get over... But you weren't here for the class. How could you ask a question about the class?
I wanted to ask a question about relating to your last answer.
Okay, sorry, you're all overridden. Yes, but this is the last one too.
You know how you said that Brahma separated Krishna from his cowherd boys' calves? I've read many books, and sometimes it says in a dream and at the top Brahma's loka, and some books say in a cave, some books say different stuff. So what is the exact...
I mean, what did he do with them?
Yeah.
Well, see, it's a complicated question. First of all, Krishna, he didn't take the actual cowherd boys any more than Ravana could take the actual Sita. So he took like a reflection of them and put them, as we have read in the Bhagavatam, to a cave far away. And then Krishna expanded himself into cows and boys. So that's one expansion, which was almost like a material Maya expansion that Brahma was capable of dealing with, was in the cave. And then one set Krishna lived with, and all the residents of Vrindavan who were expansions of Krishna lived with them for a year. So where were the original boys? The Maya expansions are here, and Krishna's expansions are here. So the original boys were, they were somewhere in Vrindavan with the cows. And Krishna was with them, looking for the boys, looking for the cows. Krishna was looking for them. So Vrindavan and spiritual reality is very, very, very mysterious, because time and space, which dictate in this world how everything is, limits everything. But time and space, they serve Krishna. They serve Krishna. So they are serving Krishna means serving Krishna's dealings with the devotees, giving pleasure to Krishna through. So they move and they shift according to what's going to give pleasure to Krishna. Okay? I mean, that's the best I can do with that. So you asked whether the boys were in a cave. So my reply was that there's or were they in a dreamland or something. So in one sense we could say they were dream boys in a dreamland in a cave. Because they weren't the real boys. They were like reflections, something like that. Is that okay? Yeah. There were 3 sets, that means. Okay, last. We'll end at 1/4 Krishna willing. Okay.
Thank you. What was the feeling of Lord Brahma when he asked Krishna for if he can leave. Surely with such prayers and realizing about Krishna, Lord Brahma might not wanted to leave and continue back to Brahmaloka.
Krishna asks him that question. You're praying to be a blade of grass in Vrindavan, and yet now you're asking to leave. He asks him that very question. Brahma, you're not very consistent. And Brahma says, of course I want to stay, but I'm actually not qualified to stay. And as I mentioned before, it'll be very awkward in the middle of your pastimes. There's one person with 4 heads, because this is all Naralila. So it's all everything. There's no external display, outward display of opulence and extraordinary things. So does that answer your question? Yes. That very question was asked and answered by our acharyas. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Brahma Vimohana Lila ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Lord Brahma ki jai, Sri Nitai Gaur ki jai, Sri Radha Baladev ki jai, Jagannath Baladev, Subhadra Devi ki jai, Srila Prabhupada Bhaktivedanta ki jai.